Story 1. Lack of accountability leads people to say and do anything, believing they will never have to answer for a significant portion of their actions. This results in inhumanity, greed, and hate. Story 2. Ego. Being able to see our own limits and to own them is crucial for growth. We must actively work on circumventing or correcting these flaws. Until we stop running from our imperfections, we will never overcome them. Story 3. I believe social media leads to numerous mental health issues, making it not worth having. Additionally, pollution is a significant problem that we should be working to address. Story 4. If we all got along, imagine what we could accomplish. Asking for world peace may seem cliché, but it is true that if we collaborate, we could achieve amazing things as humans. Story 5. The moment the internet became available in the palm of your hand, it felt less saturated and more meaningful compared to the time when you had to access it on a computer. Now, anyone can post anything at any time, regardless of its truthfulness or value. This overwhelming choice can easily influence both children and adults. Moreover, when we all left MySpace, the world took a hit. Story 6. Consumerism and work. If we play our cards right, artificial intelligence could alleviate a lot of the time humans spend working, allowing us to focus more on creativity, personal growth, community, culture, and human development. Story 7. Racism, or any form of us versus them tribal thinking, allows the few very powerful to divide the many who are not as powerful and pit us against one another. Story 8. Materialism has led to an abundance of shopping apps and countless ways to spend money. However, little thought is given to the reasons behind earning the money we have. Story 9. That orange cornball sold himself to the media and political figures to avoid jail and demonstrated a lack of knowledge regarding how to run a successful business. The fear that the Republicans have about not being capable of operating outside the government has led them all to become compliant individuals. Story 10. Fascist authoritarian individuals and sociopaths with no care for anything in the world except indulging with their billionaire friends. Story 11. Speaking for the people in my region, they continue to vote for Trump. However, at least we are making progress in the opposite direction. Story 12. It surprises me to this day how many people I ask for the reasoning behind their feelings or thoughts who do not have an answer and do not seem interested in working towards finding one. Until the vast majority reach that basic level of self-understanding, I do not see how we can move forward together at all. Story 13. The scarcity mindset persists even in the United States, where there is an abundance of resources. There is no reason for people to hoard toilet paper or accumulate vast fortunes. This mindset drives the belief that we must take from others to succeed, which is outdated. We should focus on assisting those in genuine need of survival resources such as food, water, and shelter, rather than exploiting them so that a few individuals can reach astronomical wealth. Our efforts should be directed towards supporting those who are less fortunate, advancing science, and improving conditions for everyone. It is concerning that our life expectancy is declining. Story 14. Greed and desire for power are pervasive, but the Republican Party is doing an especially poor job of moving us backward. Story 15. Greed, tribalism, ego, ignorance, intolerance, and a lack of empathy exist alongside short-term thinking, entrenched wealth, and fear of irrelevance. We cling to outdated systems and resist inconvenient truths. We ignore challenges that can only be overcome through shared purpose and collective resolve. Our selfishness leads to our own detriment. Story 16. Old imperialists who cling to power and create global instability due to a lack of affection in their upbringing. Story 17. Humanity is the primary factor holding itself back. If people were genuinely focused on progress, they would care less about their feelings being hurt. A significant portion of human progress is hindered by error, inefficiency, incompetence, procrastination, and self-righteousness. Let me ask you, are human rights guaranteed not by some flawed institution or by objectivity? Is that objectivity idealistic, formed from human ideas, or is it a reality? Logical analysis would suggest the elimination of inefficiencies within our society and a more open approach to designing a better society. The moment people started telling you what is right and wrong or which ideas are bad or good, you lost the ability to properly form an external view of subjective reality. The only way to achieve this objectivity is to leave behind the ideas of modern humanity. Story 18. Religious individuals who hinder social progress in the name of preserving their beliefs. Story 19. The hard biophysical limits of the planet. The hard limits of human psychology and physiology. The fact that we are animals with no free will, subject to the same natural laws that apply to everything else. Story 20. To a certain extent, Donald Trump. Once he is gone from the face of the earth, I think many things will begin to progress in ways they currently cannot. Story 21. Capitalism. Many diseases could have been cured and many inventions could have emerged if the wealthiest individuals did not profit so disproportionately. Story 22. I believe jealousy and envy are holding our world back. They benefit no one, yet many seem to indulge in them and respond with hostility. Story 23. Selfishness is the lack of concern for the people around us and the ones we share the planet with, as well as a disregard for nature and its resources. Story 24. Our all-consuming hatred for each other, for any shape or form of difference, is usually driven by ignorance, propaganda, and the prejudices of previous generations. Story 25. If everything were open source and everyone worked together to improve the world instead of blocking and acquiring new inventions, the world would become a better place much faster. Instead, we only care about personal gain, destroying those around us without hesitation. Story 26. Genuinely, though, it's unity, equity, and compassion. We are divided by race, by religion, by wealth, and by politics. Story 27. Cognitive biases. I genuinely believe that cognitive biases are the cause of more suffering in the world than any intentional evil or malice. We often cause harm because we are confidently incorrect, and our cognitive biases keep us from learning we are wrong. Cognitive biases lead us to jump to conclusions, assuming some problem in the world is caused by convoluted reasons we just made up, or perhaps we believe someone else's poor reasoning for their perceived cause of the problem. The reason we are currently living in a time with so much technological advancement is that we discovered the best way to combat our biases, which hindered progress for thousands of years, is to try to prove ourselves wrong. This is the basis of the scientific method. However, most people don't apply that to their lives. Even when we are aware of these cognitive biases, it's very easy to see them in others, but very hard to recognize when we are avoiding falsifying our opinions or beliefs. Story 28. Hope makes you forget about what makes sense. When you're hoping, you're dreaming. We all have different dream worlds, and for some, the pursuit of what they believe their dream is inadvertently leads them toward individualism. The pursuit of achieving this hope, which is often fear-based, involves sacrificing the greater good to find their slice of pie. The greater the fear, the more intense the mentality of achieving goals at any cost. And here we are. The most terrified and fragile person in the world is enacting his selfishness on the world. What makes him feel safe is money, attention, and the power to instill fear in others. For him, that's the dream. Those who support him are emboldened by the hope of a brave new world, led by a genuine person rather than a politician. They fear they may be next to have their lives overturned by this man's greed and pursuit of personal safety. They were misled, and their hope contributed to this reality. Story 29. The disconnect with nature and all other living creatures on the planet signifies a need to dominate and to be right at the expense of others. Story 30. Honestly, nothing. I can't think of a single obstacle to humanity that would be entirely guaranteed not to backfire if eliminated. Story 31. Imagine the world we could have if some of the best and brightest among us were not burdened by shame. Story 32. A lack of empathy from a large percentage of people and overwhelming greed from a small percentage. Story 33. You are holding humanity back. Gain knowledge, remove distractions, and then work to improve humanity. But wouldn't you rather just relax and enjoy life like everyone else? Story 34. The increasing unwillingness to compromise. Everyone needs to be right. Admitting fault or error is considered a weakness. Story 35. In a technological sense, batteries play a crucial role. If we can find a way to harness more power and store it more efficiently, our technology could progress significantly. However, issues like greed also hinder progress. Story 36. The majority of people are influenced by fear of others, which prevents them from developing class consciousness. Story 37. Religion. When people believe they have found an answer, they stop seeking further understanding and become complacent. The fragility of their faith makes them overly protective of their beliefs, causing them to react negatively towards non-believers and anyone who challenges their perceived eternal reward. This often results in elitist attitudes and tribalism, which can escalate into conflict, genocide, and apartheid. I truly wonder where we might be without ancient superstitions holding us back. Story 38. Well, first of all, how do you define progress? And which direction is forward? That's the reason we struggle with progress. It looks different to many people for various reasons. One person's progress can be another person's decline, while someone else's advancement may feel like oppression to another. Story 39. I see emotions such as hate and greed as responses, but they all originate from fear. Fear is the primary response. Story 40. Isolation. People can be isolated even in the heart of a large city, encountering many individuals every day. Story 41. 1. Religion and blind obedience. 2. Faulty logic and prejudice, judging people by patterns. 3. Greed. Story 42. People like me spend time answering questions on Reddit. That's the main issue. There are many others, but that is the one that is truly affecting our civilization, like a wrestler with an infection. Story 43. I wonder if we should reconsider the idea that progress is a linear movement. Perhaps we would be better off if we recognized that it is possible to improve the world through multiple paths, which may lead in different, sometimes contradictory directions. This perspective may help us see beyond or around particular blockages. Story 44. The individualistic state of mind. Many people today prioritize their comfort to the detriment of others. Story 45. There are many factors that influence behavior. Some of the most common ones are egocentricity, which is the belief that everything revolves around oneself, sociocentrism, which is the belief that a group's beliefs are beyond reason and should be followed without question, and limited critical thinking. These three factors play a significant role in shaping our perceptions and actions. Story 46. Aging. Our best minds age and die after about 90 years. If we could cure aging, they would be able to stay and continue improving the world indefinitely. Story 47. We do not learn from history. We record history so that we do not repeat the same mistakes, yet we continue to do so. Story 48. Social media and videos capture our attention, impacting our self-esteem and leading us to desire unrealistic things. Once this perspective shifts, we begin to appreciate what we can achieve and find genuine motivation. Story 49. Stupidity. All other negative emotions like hate, fear, and greed cannot be exploited for personal gain if there is not enough stupidity. Story 50. Artificial scarcity and the pursuit of profit are the gateways humanity must navigate to progress and achieve meaningful gains toward its full potential. Story 51. Two things are very natural to all animals. Tribalism, which involves being territorial and forming groups of safe individuals, is important for survival. Outsiders are often treated with suspicion because they could potentially be dangerous or carry diseases. Multi-lifespan planning indicates that we struggle to think beyond our own lifespans. For the greater good, multiple generations may need to endure discomfort and hardship for our progress as a species. This is illustrated by capitalist markets and the model of infinite growth, which often suppress real issues, such as climate change, in favor of short-term gains. The solution to both of these issues is the same: education and perspective. By broadening our understanding, we can overcome these artificial barriers and think beyond our limited experiences. Story 52. I will say that greediness, indifference to others' suffering, and the tendency to blame those who are struggling are troubling aspects of human nature. Some people care only about their own benefits and well-being, finding excuses for why others are poor and struggling, often labeling them as lazy. This judgmental and mean behavior is disheartening. It is sad how much cruelty humans can exhibit on a daily basis. Sometimes I believe that those who do wrong do not deserve a second chance, as they often show remorse only when caught, not for their actions. Story 53. Lack of necessary support for families has led to a decline in birth rates, resulting in challenges for maintaining progress in many countries. Story 54. Not teaching these basic principles to children in grade school can have significant consequences. If these principles are introduced to schools nationwide, I am confident that those nations would thrive on multiple levels. Story 55. Consider how much money we, as a civilization, spend on luxury items that symbolize status, and think about all the ways we could use those resources to benefit humanity. Story 56. Seeing the world as a resource to be used. We will destroy the earth if it generates a profit for the shareholders. Story 57. Fentanyl. Did you know that a significant number of Americans died from a fentanyl overdose last year? That number is rising each year. Each day, a large quantity of fentanyl crosses the border from Canada and enters the water supply. Story 58. The older generation's still in charge of everything, including politics, business, media, and local government. If they stepped aside, we would see a lot of progress, in my opinion. Story 59. Selfishness. America was built on the idea of selfishness, which is often masked as individualism. Selfishness breeds greed. While it does not equal greed, it provides a smooth playing ground for it. The same can be said for Christianity. The religion, if you really think about it, is very selfish. It suggests exclusivity, as if only its followers are the holy and true people. If one does not believe in their God or does not plan on trying to, they may not receive support. America exemplifies many of humanity's failures. Story 60. Lack of true selection pressure may hinder our progress as a species regarding innate intelligence. Without controversial measures like eugenics or genetic engineering, it is likely we will stall. Education can only contribute so much without a significant biological increase in brain power. Story 61. It is not my responsibility to care for the elderly, pay for someone else's healthcare, feed, house, and heal the poor, or care for the environment. If people had empathy and compassion for others, we could accomplish so much more. Story 62. Corrupt politicians steal from the people and desire to keep the common person poor, uneducated, and hungry to prevent revolutions. Story 63. Despite numerous catastrophic historical and current examples, we lack a system to prevent narcissistic, psychopathic individuals from attaining powerful positions in both private and public affairs. In fact, we have many systems, cultural norms, and practices that facilitate their rise to the top. Often, we even praise them along the way for being tough, strong, and effective in getting things done. Addressing this issue could lead to significant global improvements. Story 64. Conservatives and a lack of accountability are significant issues. The world is constantly changing, and trying to preserve the current status quo is not only unsustainable but impossible. Our systems need proper adjustments, and it is unproductive to have crowds of people yelling that they do not want change when change is inevitable. Current problems result from our systems and people's failure to adjust to modern technology and scientific discoveries, often blaming minorities to shift accountability. Making life harder for your neighbor will not fix climate issues, will not make you richer, and will not resolve the housing crisis. Story 65. Social media and doom scrolling lead to a desire for individuals to feel special and smarter than others, even without putting in the effort to learn. This can result in becoming a science denier. Story 66. Control is a significant factor in people's choices, as many actively choose poor options to maintain a sense of control. This phenomenon is evident at both large and small scales. On one end, we see dictatorships, while on the other, CEOs and boards prioritize profit over innovation. On a smaller scale, individuals often make bad decisions because it provides them with a feeling of control, believing that the last cigarette will give them an edge. Story 67. There are certain types of people who would rather see everything fail than see anyone achieve something they themselves do not have, even when they do not need it or have any use for it. When we cannot lift ourselves out of the situation, no one gets to move forward. Story 68. The illusion of money providing happiness is misleading. Observe the actions of those in power. They divide us because they understand that when people collaborate, their schemes fail. Community, empathy, and compassion for our fellow humans are the most important aspects of life. Story 69. Humans tend to follow loud, overconfident individuals even if they are incorrect. If we ever overcome this tendency, it would greatly benefit our personal advancement. Story 70. The money we are required to use is constantly devalued, resulting in people's inability to save in their own currency. They are continuously compelled to assume market risk in an effort to keep pace with this ongoing devaluation. Story 71. 8-hour workdays, 40-hour workweeks, minimal vacation time, and low pay contribute to keeping us busy enough to neglect our hobbies and aspirations that help us gain skills and develop ideas. Meanwhile, they ensure we earn just enough to barely get by while they purchase another yacht. Story 72. Lack of tolerance. We must learn to tolerate other people's beliefs and stop discriminating against them if these beliefs are not the same as ours. Story 73. Short-term thinking often leads to decisions, whether in politics, business, or daily life, that prioritize immediate gain over long-term progress. This mindset results in environmental neglect and economic policies that focus on short-term profits instead of sustainable growth, keeping humanity trapped in cycles of crisis rather than moving forward. Story 74. One major factor is inequality. It limits access to resources, education, and opportunities, hindering overall progress and development. Story 75. The notion that money is real and people are property and products. Gold madness is a real phenomenon, and so is lead poisoning. Additionally, the global child sex trade that cults are heavily invested in significantly contributes to the exploitation of vulnerable individuals. Story 76. Greed. Many people in power prioritize short-term profit over long-term progress. Imagine where we would be if innovation wasn't constantly hindered by those protecting their own interests. Story 77. Conservatism is evident in its name. The desire to cling to the past and maintain the status quo has no place in our inevitably changing world. Story 78. Lack of education, diversity, and mental health systems. However, consider the opposite perspective. It is important to explore both sides of the issue. Story 79. Not being able to zoom out and see the bigger picture is a problem. This entire planet is one large organism, and we are all connected to its health. Instead of recognizing this, we often choose to fight amongst ourselves due to minor differences in skin color or personal choices in attire. This division not only hinders our progress but may ultimately lead to our downfall. Story 80. Billionaires, oligarchs, and kleptocrats are undermining democracy, the rule of law, and human civilization to subjugate society and acquire more wealth and power that they do not need and should not possess. Human society must mature and work towards eliminating billionaires, oligarchs, and kleptocrats entirely. Story 81. Human nature. Humans have been on the planet for a long time but have only been intelligent for a small part of that time. We currently use our intelligence to further our animal urges, food, sex, dominance, violence, instead of using it to improve circumstances for everyone in a sustainable way. As a species, we are capable of doing better, but we still behave more like the animals we originated from. I would like to believe we will get there eventually, but we have a long way to go. Story 82. Humanity is often our own worst enemy and, by default, the worst enemy of others on this planet. Being human can feel like a virus. Story 83. Whatever you call the quality that causes people to vote for individuals like Donald Trump, in an ideal world, he could still exist, but nobody would pay any attention to him. Story 84. Capitalism. I am not claiming there is a utopia, but this current economic system has outlived its usefulness. Story 85. The first person who says, religion wins. But seriously, it's human nature. We progress slowly, not overnight. We ruin good things because of greed, malice, or self-interest. Many ideologies contain valuable truths and attempt to guide humanity down a positive path, but those in power often end up corrupted. Story 86. When the Republican candidate inscribes the slogan "Down with Socialism" on the banner of his great crusade, that is really not what he means at all. What he really means is "Down with Progress." Harry. Story 87. Anti-science propaganda and the pride that conservatives and the far right take in being uneducated and ignorant has become a badge of honor. This disdain for expertise, knowledge, experience, and merit is now central to the right-wing belief system and is destroying decades of progress. The only qualification for a position of power is to swear allegiance to the leader in charge, whether that be Vladimir Putin in Russia, Donald Trump in the United States, Kim Jong-un in North Korea, Viktor Orban in Hungary, or Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. Story 88. I feel like many of us are losing touch with real things such as other people, actual experiences, and face-to-face conversations in favor of intentionally addictive mobile technology and media. In some respects, this is nothing new, but the trend seems to be accelerating. We need to make space in our lives for genuine experiences, not echo chambers and online voices telling us what we want to hear. The internet and related technologies have wonderful potential, but this potential seems to be wasted at the present time. We live in a world where the dividing line between real and unreal, fact and fiction, is increasingly blurry for many people, and this problem extends to our economies, governments, and other institutions. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.